strength. He wanted to be strong, no matter who he faced. This old man in front of him was Gu Zhangmyang, an elder of the Manhwa sect and the ultimate martial artist who represented strength. He already knew he wouldn't survive today. He came to the Demon Academy because he wanted to become stronger. He would endure hardships time and time again for years, but this was the result. He didn't want to die. If only he had known better martial arts, if only his circumstances had been a little better. While reminiscing about his past, he began to hallucinate a screen in front of him. As he closed his eyes, he saw some strange words in front of him. He had no idea that these words would change the course of his life. It felt like he was inside an ocean, and he could move around as if he were a part of the ocean itself. This man was Seol, and he was there to learn demonic arts, which were known to shorten one's life. He had entered the Demon Academy, but after learning the demonic arts for years, all he did was lead search parties on reconnaissance missions before dying. As he opened his eyes, he was shocked. It took a few seconds for him to realize that he was in a different place than before, and as he got up, he saw that this place was his training facility. What happened? He asked. But he clearly remembered dying. Was he dreaming? No, it couldn't be because it felt so real. It was all because of that person, the Mantis, the Lord of the Supreme Court, who gave the command to survey the area knowing it was dangerous, and as a result, he died. But how did he get here back to his cabin, as Seol was perplexed and thinking when he heard the mocking voice of the squad leader, who asked who was here. When Seol turned around to look, he saw Zhangmyang. The other bald guy moved forward. He was a direct unit of Supreme Court Black Man Squad member Chik-san. Chik-san then punched Seol in the stomach with such force that he flew away. The bald man smirks and apologizes for his hand slipping, then looks down and says, "Seol, squad leader of the flying faction. Are you half asleep? Can't you see that the person in front of you is Zhangmyang, the squad leader of the Black Moon Squad? How could you call him by his name in this situation?" Rather than feeling stomach pain, he was taken aback by the situation because it had happened to him before. He had been through this incident before, so he decided that the next sentence he would say would undoubtedly be, "If you lack skill, you should at least know how to bow your head." And exactly what happened was that the man in front of him repeated the same words. Zhangmyang then called Seol a fool. Then Seol asked what was the matter. Man in front of him repeated the same words. Zhangmyang then called Seol a fool. Seol then asked what was the matter. Exactly as he had done in the past. Zhangmyang then stated that the Lord of the Supreme Court had summoned him. He then departs with his underling, but not before saying something to the bald man, who sneers and departs. Seol greeted Chik-san and thought Chik-san had gone this far only because Zhangmyang was backing him up. Despite the fact that he was lower ranked than him, Seol had already decided he would kill him one day. He noticed some strange numbers and letters on their heads, but what would those numbers mean? While thinking about this, he continued on his way to the Lord's room. He still couldn't believe that everything was going the way he remembered. Did he dream or was it foresight? No, it was definitely reality. It was as if you went back in time. He had reached the Lord of the Supreme Court's room when he heard a voice instructing him to come inside. As Seol entered, he clenched his hands as this person was the one who orchestrated his death, the Mantis, also known as the Lord of the Supreme Court, even though he had hatred for the man in front of him. The other person sitting beside him is a bald man who was the leader of the Court of Deity. There was a place called the Red Demon Chamber, which was the first court branch of the Demon Academy, and within it were 5 courts. The Lord of the Supreme Court possessed incredible martial arts skills as well as knowledge of the demonic flame, which was capable of melting human bones with a single burst. The Lord of the Supreme Court had an awful personality and would slaughter mindlessly. Seol couldn't trust him but had no choice but to obey him. The Lord of the Supreme Court then explained to the other man that this child was Seol. The other person said, "I'm dissatisfied. You said that Seol is as strong as you described, but his greeting was half-hearted. It was obvious that the man wanted to see Seol get down on his knees. Seol hurriedly got down on his knees and said to forgive him for this impertinence. He had simply wanted to offer his salutations as he entered. The leader of the Supreme Court was a hypocrite, and even though he was enjoying the show, he made a sad expression and told Seol not to embarrass him in front of the leader of the court of the holy deity. Seol gritted his teeth because just 4 days ago he had instructed him to bow his head, and now he was acting oblivious. The leader then told him to rise, and he then asked a question, "Do you want to become a clerk at Cheonil office?" Seol realized that he was revealing his true colors. He was baiting him. The man then continued because he had shown such interest in the demonic arts. "You took extra care. Did you know that the office was a place that stored thousands of classification books?" The man paused Seol's thoughts, then said that, on the other hand, he was thinking of giving him a mission that was well suited for him. Hearing that, Seol became concerned because what he did with that mission was go to the mount, which led to his death. He then decided that this second chance would not be squandered, and he would flee into the bush to avoid the mission. He had a determined expression and thought he would not die again. As Seol opened his mouth to say something, he was surprised because time stopped in front of him and a window suddenly appeared showing some options. He realized he couldn't move his body and everyone in this room had stopped. That was when he realized that the screen on which he hallucinates at the time of death was not a dream. He noticed something flashing and quickly realized that the time was decreasing, which meant that the system was forcing him to choose one of these options. He didn't want to go back and die with the mission, nor did he want to cut his right arm, so he chose the second option. A bright light flashed, and time resumed. Seol abruptly said he wished to receive another order. As soon as he said that, he was shocked because you didn't say it. His mouth moved on its own. He never knew that this strange choice system could control his body. The Lord of the Supreme Court was angry and got up from his seat. He said he hadn't given too many orders yet, and you already asked for another order. Suddenly, a terrifying amount of energy spread out from him and was directed towards Seol. Seol fell down and was trembling due to the intense bloodlust. He only heard about the demonic flame, but today he saw it in person. Just by a little of its energy, he felt as if he were being bit on the neck. He was in big trouble. If he was left by this, he would definitely die. The man shouted stop, and the sword stopped inches from Seol's neck. He was shocked to see a woman in front of him, and he didn't even have time to react. The woman in front of him was Hyuk Bai, the vassal who guarded the Lord of the Supreme Court. The Lord and tell them all to continue speaking. Whether she would kill him or spare him will depend on his answer. Seol then hurriedly got down on his knees and said that he didn't want another order because he wanted to defy him. Instead, he heard rumors that the Manhwa sect was gathering at the border of Hanam. Doesn't the Lord always say that getting rid of Manhwa sect people is our homework? The Lord became interested and asked Seol, then said that you wanted to take advantage of that opportunity because his flying assassin squad specialized in reconnaissance and surveillance, and they wanted to join the expedition to eliminate them. Seol was desperately thinking for him to accept it when suddenly the Lord of the Holy Court smiled and said there may be a leak from the Falcon Heavy Corps, otherwise, how could a mere squad leader know about this rumor? Then we could see Seol and said how amusing he was going to assign in another work anyways to that location, which he mentioned the vice principal would go there personally for a reconnaissance mission. He should just survey the terrain and report how the land looks to the captain of the assassin squad. Now he should leave. Seol hurriedly bowed and stood up. He took a deep breath. He had survived from the Mantis wrath, but nothing has changed from his past life. Earlier, he was sent for reconnaissance, and this time he was sent to review the terrain. As he was leaving, the woman assassin walked by, but what was more shocking was that the numbers and letters he was familiar with were displayed on her head. He couldn't understand what this +4 lives meant. It was evening, and Seol was washing his face in the late afternoon. While he was doing that, he He was thinking that all the things that had occurred were unbelievable, but this was reality. Just what exactly had happened to him? He was remembering his past life, how he was killed and had nowhere to retreat. It was all because of that damn mantis. He considered fleeing, but with the demonic arts he had learned, he would leave an unpleasant and wicked energy trail that he couldn't hide. No matter what, he would be pursued not only by the demonic faction but also by the righteous faction in the end, and whichever path he chose would be difficult. A voice suddenly disturbed him out of his thoughts. This man in front of him was the bald guy from before. He started speaking nonsense and even advised Seol not to get on his nerves. If you did, it wouldn't be good for him. This time, Seol was not listening to any of these words. Instead, he was focused on the letters that said +1 life. He wanted to test what +1 life was. Would I really get one more life if I killed him, or was it something else? He had to decide whether to follow the mantis order and die, or to take a chance with this strange system. He then approached the bald guy and told them that he wanted to confirm something. The bald guy was surprised that Seol acted so strangely. Seol suddenly pulled out his sword and charged towards the bald guy, then their swords collided. The bald guy was flustered and asked Seol what he was doing. Seol didn't reply and their swords collided once more. As the bald guy was unprepared for the surprise attack, he was injured. Seol then takes a fighting stance and releases a special move, the Black Diamond 7 Swords. The bald guy could not overpower him and got injured. He then shouted, "Did he become mad? Would you be safe after all of this?" Seol had made up his mind that he didn't care any longer. He would do what he sees fit. When a bald man looked at those emotionless eyes, he felt fear. Seol once again clashed with him, but as the man's mental state crumbled, he started swinging the sword in a frenzy. Seol easily dodged all the blows and kicked him in the abdomen. Seol had realized one thing: if I wanted to live, I had to rely on this mysterious system, and for that, he had to take this damn bald guy's lives. Seol assumes a fighting stance once more. When he saw this, the bald guy became agitated and said tremblingly, "If Captain Juk Myung found out about it this," but before you could finish the sentence, a sword pierced his heart. The wind was blowing, and it complemented Seol's calm expression perfectly. He was thinking about something, but when he killed the bald guy, the words above his head vanished, but nothing else changed about him. Then Seol bends over to look at his reflection in the river. There's a sudden change, as if there's a glitch in those letters, and a number 2 appears. Seol is taken aback, but then realizes something.